Get full episodes of The Damage Report as a podcast on iTunes and Android, and you can watch the live show every weekday on YouTube TV. Yesterday, we learned that another Democrat had flipped a seat, this time in Maine. That is Jared Golden, but his is a little bit different. His win came about as a result of the state's new ranked choice voting system. Very exciting stuff, and so I am excited to now welcome to the show Kara Brown McCormick. This is a co-founder of the Committee for Ranked Choice Voting. Kara, welcome to The Damage Report.
Hi, nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
We're very glad to have you here, especially on this particular topic. So ranked choice voting is something that we've talked about multiple times on the show, but for those who might not be familiar with it, can you give a brief explainer for our audience?
Sure. So ranked choice voting is gives you the power to rank candidates from your most favorite to your least favorite. It was the nation's first use of ranked choice voting last night in a general election for Congress. It's just an instant runoff system. So Rachel Maddow last night talked about it last night. She said, why are you calling it ranked choice voting? You should just call it the 1, 2, 3 system. So ballots are counted in rounds. The last place candidates lose, and then the candidate with the majority of the vote wins.
Yeah, so it seems, I think once you explain it, it makes a lot of sense to people. There are some concerns about whether people will get it. I think that that's generally a bit condescending towards Americans. I think that we can figure it out, but we're gonna talk about the pros and the cons. I just wanna briefly make note of the history in Maine of the push for this system. It has apparently been somewhat complicated, right?
So it's been a 4-year battle. We started in, about August of 2014. And in November of 2014, we collected 30,000 signatures at the polls, and then another 40,000 signatures over the course of 2015. And we landed ourselves on the ballot in 2016. We won that election with the second largest vote of the people of Maine in the history of citizen referendums.
Wow.
And then our law became the law on January 7th of 2017. And about 4 days later, I realized that the legislature was not excited about the new law and would probably repeal it. And on October 23rd of 2017, that's exactly what they did. So under Maine's Constitution, we have the power to do something called a people's veto. So in 88 days in the middle of winter, last winter at this time, we collected 80,000 signatures, handed them into the Secretary of State, froze the law in place, and we used it for the first time on June 12th of 2018. And then on June 12th of 2018, we had a citizens referendum, and again, we won, this time with 8% margin. And so we used ranked choice voting for the first time in a general election a few days ago, on last Tuesday.
Yeah, and it's already determined an election, as we said, Jared Golden's seat. So you are an advocate for this. You're pushing for this to become more common. It seems like the people of Maine very excited about it. They were willing to support it multiple times. What are the advantages of setting up this sort of system? Why should we want this?
Well, a lot of times people go into the ballot box and they feel like they're voting for the lesser of two evils. So this really opens up the system. If there's a candidate that you really, really prefer, you're allowed to put him or her first. So you can kind of vote for your hope rather than for your fear. You can vote for the person that you like the most without being afraid that you're going to elect the candidate that you like the least, which is what happens over and over and over again in Maine. So we have a very strong, proud tradition of independent voting in Maine. We have an independent Senator, Angus King, and 9 out of the last 11 governor's races in Maine have been decided. The person who's been elected has been elected with less than 50% of the vote.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in our elections, we're talking about this one's going to, if you vote for that one, it's a wasted vote. If you vote for this one, then, people get called spoilers. And we're not talking about what we should be talking about, which is other things.
Yeah.
Besides who's ahead and who's behind. We should be talking about who has the best ideas.
Exactly, and this frees people up to do that. And in your example, I was looking at, so Paul LePage, who's an incredibly controversial, now former governor, he initially won with 37.5% of the vote. I mean, that's hardly a vote of confidence by the state, but because of the system we have, the first past the post, he was able to do that. So ranked choice voting could have stopped that potentially from happening. So
yeah, you get it. That's exactly right. Why,
Exactly.
and then he was able to govern only representing this very small smidgen of Maine people. And so we hope that ranked choice voting will also change the way that people govern, because they'll be elected with a broader majority of the people, and then therefore sort of responsible to a broader majority of the people.
And it is odd that this is still somewhat controversial, that people oppose this. It seems like it's in basically everyone's interest. If you're a third-party candidate or a third party itself, if you set up this sort of system, you will no longer be tarred as a spoiler and have people sort of try to push you out of the scene. If you're one of the major parties, you no longer have to worry about the spoiler effect. You just have to run good candidates. So why is it so controversial?
Yes.
Why are people fighting against this?
I think that anytime you try to change something, the powers that be are going to try to stop you. And part of our battle has been also in the courts. On last week, we were taken to court once again. So I think that was the inside of the fifth courtroom that I've seen in this battle. I think that people are, however, in Maine and hopefully across the country, feeling like they have the responsibility to make our state and our country a better place for our children, for our grandchildren. The way to do this is to change the way that we elect our leaders. We need to ensure that candidates who are opposed by a majority of voters cannot win. And we need a system that works again. And this is the most stunningly right idea at this moment in history that exists. And, I've worked in politics for 25 years, and this is the answer to what ails us, which is the partisan politics that are just tearing our country apart. And we agree about so much more than we disagree about in this country, but we've got a system that's trying to sort us into one or the other. And so anyway, Maine, we made a big first step yesterday, and it's pretty exciting for all of us who work so hard for it.
It certainly is. So if people watching this show are interested in pursuing ranked choice voting possibly in their own states, what advice would you give them? Are there any organizations they should support, resources they should go to?
Well, I think the main thing that I want to tell everyone is that we started this little movement in Maine with 4 people. And we had no money. And all we had was a really great idea, and the people came to us. So don't feel like you need to have some grand organization in order to start your own ranked choice voting movement in your own state if you feel like it's what would help your state work better, and if you think it's something that the people in your state would appreciate. And please come to the Committee for Ranked Choice Voting on Facebook, and you can definitely also come to rcvmaine.com, or another organization is called morevoice.org. And that's how you can find us, and we're happy to help you. We just want to spread the word and get this message out there, and hopefully people will pick it up and run with it.
Well, thank you very much, Kara Brown McCormick. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, John.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from The Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.